Konnan, did you watch Raw?
Yes, I did.
All right, starts off with Bianca Belair makes her entrance and Damage Control came out. Bayley said Belair was chosen where she did it all by herself, and Belair said nobody handed her anything. She says been showing up and showing out, and then asked if Bayley was rehabbing. Belair said she wouldn't downplay her accomplishments to a level that Bayley is comfortable with. And Bayley said she taught herself how to walk and run again, and she boasted that she pinned Belair at Clash of the Castle. Noted that she was the first person to do it in over 300 days, and Bayley said all of Belair's accomplishments occurred only because she was injured. And Belair pointed out that when she headlined WrestleMania, Bayley was present. And Bayley said Belair was living in the past, and Bayley said she wants to win the Raw Women's Championship in a ladder match at Extreme Rules, and Belair accepted and turned her focus towards her Raw match with Skye. So then Bianca wrestles Io Skye, and Skye hit Belair with a couple of palm strikes and rolled her back in the ring. Skye went for a springboard. The Belair avoided, and she hoisted her up Skye and hit the KOD before covering her. 18 minutes they went for this in a match, and everybody knew that Belair would win. Do you got any comments on this?
What do you think of this segment?
I'm not interested.
Okay. So I know I say this every week, but I got to say something, so I guess I'll just repeat what I've always been saying. Like I said, before people go, oh, they hate women, they always got something about women. I'm not a fan of the women of WWE not named Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, okay, and probably there's somebody I'm missing. Belair is good, but she's not on their level. And Bayley is being dragged up at this brutal Damage Control. And here's another thing, bro. I don't give a what anybody thinks. The one thing that AEW does is at least mostly, not all, but usually they start off the show hot. WWE sometimes will start it off hot, but when they started off with women, they always missed a point. When they put women in the main event that don't deserve to be there, they also missed a boat. They put this women in main events, they don't deliver. Ditto with the opening segments. This is a good example. Here's the other part. Neither trio has chemistry. Asuka continues to act like no woman. How would any guy date this girl except like a nerd? She just acts so goofy. This match was way too long. The crowd was into it. I wasn't.
Why do you say that AEW starts their show off hot?
Because they usually do.
What did define hot?
Why do I need to define something you already know?
Because you say they start off hot. When we start off
with
hot,
a good match, with a good promo, with a good something that starts off the show hot, not something brutal like this.
This is my point. When we use the term we want to start off hot, it's usually different than the norm. Like, we're going to start off hot. We're going to bury Joe today. I'm going to start off.
Well, they were different.
AEW starts to show up the exact same way every time. To me, that's not
because
hot.
Before, if you remember, they used to start the match with 8-man cluster. Then they would start off with like good promos, and then yesterday, and we'll get to Dynamite in a minute because that shit was all over the place.
I would disagree with the term. AEW starts it off with action. Okay, I would. That's what I would say. I wouldn't use the word hot because hot to me is something completely like hot. Wow, this is different. They're starting off hot. So that's what I would say. I would just argue that the terminology.
Semantics.
It is semantics. That's all I'm saying. Backstage, Ray was interviewed by Kevin Patrick. He spoke about holding his newborn child. He's one of the best for him when he grew up. He said it didn't recognize the man that his son Dominic has become. And Ray said it's Rhea Ripley manipulating Dom. Ray turned his attention to his match with Seth, and Ray said he might have mercy for his own flesh and blood, but he won't show any for Rollins. So this wasn't a bad promo by Ray, by the way.
Well, before people think I'm writing his, we have buried Ray for bad promos in the past. Okay, which they have given him really terrible verbiage in the past. They've given him something to sink his teeth into, and it's believable, and it's good storyline progression. I liked it.
The Miz was shown walking past an Edmonton Oilers display backstage. He told a group of security guards he was offering them a prize package worth up to $1 million, including an exclusive cameo on the spinoff of the Marine franchise, gift cards, a certified pre-owned car, and career advice from himself. The Miz said he didn't want big and bulky security. He wanted smart and stealthy. He got them, and he called them Miz Force. He told them to go find he who shall not be named. So this was
kind of funny, and it was a good promo, but the guys looked like a bunch of J-Brons.
Right, yeah. He probably threw that line in there himself because they got these security guards. These don't look like security guards.
Right. They didn't. They just look like indie wrestlers with security shirts. Right.
Yeah. Seth comes out, and they show the post match of Riddle and him challenge to fight in the fight pit. In the ring, he played to the crowd and said he should be the new U.S. champion, but it's not because of Riddle. Rollins said he had Lashley dead to rights when Riddle forced him to take his eye off the ball for 1 second. Rollins said he and Riddle will finish it once and for all inside the fight pit, and the crowd chanted Rollins' song again. Rollins said no one thinks he stands a chance inside the fight pit because everyone thinks it's Riddle's match. And Rollins said he had to go home, look in the mirror, and come to the harsh conclusion that he's Seth freaking Rollins. He said he'd been in all sorts of gimmick matches and he's won them all. He said an Einstein-level acumen for the fight game and said it might be the first time inside the fight pit, but when it's over, Riddle will be on his back and everyone will dub him the king of the fight pit. Rollins said he was going to give Ray the beating that he wouldn't give his own son, and then Ray comes out. This was a good promo by Seth, again.
Yeah.
You know?
3 good promos in a row, but what popped me is when Ray came out, he acted surprised. It's like, dude, you already knew you were going to wrestle him, but go,
right.
you know.
Yeah, that was weird, right?
Yeah.
So they go to commercial, then they come back and the match is in progress, and Dom was seated at ringside and fist bumped Rollins. And in the ring, Ray avoided a stomp, and Rollins went for a pedigree, but Ray avoided that as well. Dom stood up from his chair, and Ray sent Rollins back in the ring and hit him with the top rope splash from near fall, and Rollins avoided 619, slid the apron. Ray went to the apron for a hurricanrana. Dom stood up and tossed his chair to his father and dared him to hit him with it again. While the referee held back Rollins, Rhea Ripley ran in through the crowd and hit Ray from behind. And Ray was rolled back inside the ring where Rollins stomped him and put Ray in a Peruvian necktie submission for the win. So he finished him with like a shoot MMA type hold, I guess, to set up for the fight pit stuff. So what did you think of this?
I don't like interference or distractions, as you know, unless it's tied into the storyline, which this was.
Mm-hmm.
Really continued good storytelling. They've really done a good job of really, doing a lot of little things that I like. Like, for example, I like Dom telling his dad to hit him again. I like when he came out and he fist bumped Seth. He looked like a real doing that. I like when Ripley attacked him attacked Ray from behind. Nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on Ray by Seth. And here's another thing I'd like to say. I think Ray, like Jericho on Wednesday when he had that match with Bandito for their age, this was an excellent showing. I think Seth and Ray are 2 of the best wrestlers in the world. And right now, if you kind of look around Disco, they have a lot of really, really good workers, from Riddle, the Finn, the AJ, the KO, to Sami Zayn, to the Usos when they come over, the Miz. Priest has really improved a lot. Gargano, Alpha Academy. I mean, they got some really good workers right now.
Riddle was shown after the match on a television, watching the television locker room, and Bobby Lashley showed up and startled him. Lashley wished Riddle good luck in his upcoming matches, and Lashley put over the fight pit in order that you either tap out or get knocked out. And Lashley told Riddle they knew he wanted to help him, but he never wanted him to do that again. And Riddle said that was his bad, and they bumped fists. So he kind of let him know, don't, that was kind of like a, don't get in my business, right? Owens and Gargano walking backstage, and they found that Miz's star security force has all been knocked out. The Alpha Academy comes out. They're wrestling Owens and Gargano. Decent match, and Austin Theory shows up and distracted Gargano, and Gable performed a cliffhanger DDT and Gargano for a near fall. Gargano ended up at ringside where he ducked Theory swinging the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Gargano super kicked him. And back inside the ring, Gargano put Gable down with the one final beat and scored the pin. 13 minutes, Owens and Gargano over the Alpha Academy. What did you think?
I thought this was a good match. The baby faces are super over, especially KO since he's from Canada. Otis, for some reason, did the crotch chop, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a good match. Like I said, all 4 of them are good workers. Yeah. Otis has really turned it up. He used to be brutal.
AJ was interviewed by Kevin Patrick backstage, and Styles asked if everyone has forgotten what Judgment Day did to him. I didn't. So, do you know what Howell writes here? It says, yes, we have. I forgot what they did to him, too. Finn Balor showed up and said that if they worked together, they could change the business again. And Balor knew that Styles was facing Sami Zayn, who would have Solo Sikoa watch his back. And Balor said Judgment Day could watch AJ's back, but he said he would watch his own back and walked away. So there's more storyline progression here. With
that's the one thing I love about WWE, which you never see in AEW. The continuous threads through the show, whether it's Miz, whether it's Rey Mysterio, whether it's Finn Balor. You know what I'm saying? They do a real good job of doing that.
Well, but bro, this is what they do, okay? And this is they're not writing the show for an audience of people that they know they already have. They're writing the show to try and draw new fans. You know what I'm saying? So that they do progressive storylines to try and go, okay, where's the story going and stuff and thing. Like, let me give you a perfect example. like, you know what? When I talked about it, I tweeted this. Like, you know, this is the difference between like the dirt sheet guys and like, you know, the Mark podcaster guys and stuff. Everything and guys like people like us. Okay, it's like we've been watching these shows lately, right? But you know, guys like Dave and Keller and these guys, and the Mark podcast guys, bro, they watch every minute of every show for like years and years and years and years and years, right? So it's like when you do that, okay, and like when we watch these shows, and like over the past few years, as it's been, bro, when the show isn't good, we stop watching it. Like there is a point where the shows are not good, and we say, I just can't watch this. So we have a reference point. How bad does it get to where you don't watch anymore, right? So this is what I think the problem is when you look at the booking between the two shows, is that when AEW like literally just does the vignettes, like the backstage stuff, just for the sake of doing them, right? And it's like, let me give you a perfect example. Like in AEW, we'll watch a backstage vignette. It's 45 minutes to minute 15 seconds, and it's two teams or whatever, and they have a verbal conflict, and they promote the match on Friday, right? Okay, we're going to wrestle on Rampage, right? And we always ask ourselves a question: did this get us to watch? Did this make you more interested in the match, right? But the thing is, like when you watch all the shows, okay, and you watch every minute regardless, you never look at these vignettes and critique them on the merits of like, is this making me more interested to watch this match? You never even ask that question because like I'm going to watch the match anyway, regardless of how good this vignette was. And there's no critiquing the AEW product like the way we do. Like when we sit there and say, did this vignette make you want to watch the match? Now, when they do a vignette like this on Raw, okay, is this making you interested in Balor and AJ? He says, yes, I want to see where this is going. It's making me interested. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a thing where like the narrative of like the two companies is completely different, where like they assume they have their audience. So when they do a vignette, they go, this was a vignette that like to set up their match on Friday. And then you say, okay, but was it any good? Like, did it actually do anything to make you want to set up the match? Like, what about the people that might not want to watch the show? You know, did this make us interested? And the people that are critiquing it don't critique it on those merits because they're going to watch it anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but bro, I don't watch Rampage because like literally, like I'm like a lot of fans, the show does terrible numbers because I watch these vignettes and they do not make me interested in watching the show, and I don't watch it. You know, and so that's where I think the difference is when you do episodic storytelling like this, as opposed to just two guys talk about, okay, we're going to have a match. It's like this is where AEW misses the boat. You have these minute and a half to the minute and a half vignettes back here. They could progress storylines, but all they do in AEW is two guys. I'm going to wrestle you Friday, blah blah blah, and they have the match on Friday. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a philosophical difference that these two companies have, and it's a major difference in the writing. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, that was long-winded, wasn't it?
When aren't you?
Yeah.
Joe, what happened to your MAGA look? Why did you shave?
My wife had enough. Once
You
it
said
gets,
that last time, so why do you grow a beard if she always has enough?
well,
Right.
she likes it until it gets to the homeless stage. Like when we went out last weekend,
Well, you look
she was like,
homeless either way.
it's time to cut it. So
Yeah, you're hideous either way. But
Joe, let me ask you a
that's
question.
very impolite,
This is a
but-
serious question.
yeah,
that's very true.
Have you ever worn anything but a black T-shirt when you've been doing this podcast?
yeah. I wore red. I wore a red
Have you
shirt.
really?
A red
I
shirt a
can't
couple
recall
times.
you-
Once, yeah.
I mean, I can't recall him not wearing a baseball hat or a black T-shirt like every single time he does a show. You know, like a creepy character.
I was very well dressed up for AEW the other night.
Okay,
Had
so
a
I
nice
didn't get to
dress
see it.
shirt
I
on.
guess. Let me tell you this, because Omos once again did not make it to Hulu, but I guess he just
Good.
basically had a squash match again. I didn't see it because it didn't make it to Hulu. But there was a backstage segment here where Austin Theory, Gable, and Otis were where Theory asked him what happened in the match. Gable said Otis hadn't been 100% since he threw down with Braun on SmackDown. And Theory answered his phone and said it was for Gable. Braun was on the phone and took issue with what Gable said, and Strowman challenged Gable to a match in St. Paul for next week's Raw. Strowman said they wouldn't have to transport Gable's body out of his hometown once he finished him, and Gable looked petrified. And Theory fired up Otis about facing Gargano next week on Raw.
I actually thought that was hilarious.
I missed that, but I guess this sounds like a funny segment. Was it
Yeah,
pretty
well,
good?
because the phone rings and he goes, "It's for you," and Gable
Okay.
goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And it was Braun Strowman. He goes, "I heard what you said. I'll see your ass next week."
Right. Like, that's a creative way of setting up the match for next week, as opposed to like, hey, I'm gonna get right. Yeah, it's like did that make you more interested in seeing that match?
Yeah, it did. And here's the other thing. So remember when I threw out the idea that Braun Strowman should wrestling?
Fight big guys, right? Yeah. It looks like they're building guys up for him, right?
During the MVP was on comment. First of all, almost at this stage should not be in squash matches. Very boring. Right. Besides the fact that he's boring. But MVP did said something about Strowman's like the monster of all monsters, and Omos is the one that Omos is the one true giant. So obviously we're going to see a battle of these two lugs.
Right. So they're back in the Edmonton Oilers like locker room area, and Miz found his Miz 4 security team laid out. There was a hockey what looked like a mannequin dressed in a hockey thing behind him, but it was actually Dexter Lumis. Lumis hit him with the hockey stick and choked him out and caressed his head because once he was out cold. This is actually very. I honestly did not see that coming.
Me neither.
I should have been alarmed to that. But
Me neither. Right.
I guess he was sitting so still. Right. They did very well because
Right. He looked like a mannequin because he was on top of a little stand.
Right. Exactly.
And he was in an exhibit, like in a museum with other replicas and shit like that.
I didn't get it. I completely missed that. Like, I'm surprised I did because I'm usually like my radar is up.
Yeah, I like that because I was surprised too.
Right. Candice LeRae debuts against Nikki Ash. minute 45. She wins. Whatever. After this is interesting. After the match, Ash sat in the corner with her superhero mask and cried.
So I will say this: almost all the girls that are very short, which I don't like because they're all short, and so they're not believable and they're not physical. At least Nikki, for her size, is very physical. The match was short, which I liked. Candice is okay; doesn't really come off as a star. And then at the end, she was crying. I always thought this gimmick was brutal from the beginning, and I hope it's the end of the road for this brutal gimmick.
Right. So next, this is a very, very, very good video package. Okay, now I know Logan Paul's a heel. Okay, but they showed this video package, I think, kind of promo and this was an excellent babyface promo.
Yeah, no, Logan Paul's not a heel.
Well, he's still getting booed. He gets booed.
Is he?
You know, okay. Yes,
I'm just you a baby face.
I'm just thinking of when I saw him in Nashville. He was a super baby face.
He gets vociferously booed every time he gets on the mic.
Yeah.
Right, because you got to understand, Joe, that Logan Paul is like a rich.
Yeah, and he's an outsider.
He's from Cleveland. He's like an outsider. He's a YouTube kind. And so this fan, the nerdy wrestling fan base, kind of is. They're not going to like really gravitate towards this rich guy.
I think they also think he's being pushed too quick. But go ahead.
Right. But bro, this was a very credible promo.
Yeah.
Very, very good. I suggest people go watch it. This is, bro. The guy's really good. You know, basically just saying, everybody's just doubted me. I fought Floyd. He made himself sound very credible. So backstage, Finn
he knows how to sell himself, and he knows how to sell the product.
Right. Backstage, Finn told the rest of Judgment Day that AJ would eventually come around. And Kevin Patrick showed up and asked Priest if he would hold back when he faces his former friend Matt Riddle. Priest called him out for asking a stupid question. He said Riddle's a former friend, whereas Judgment Day is his family. Priest said Riddle isn't a Viper, a cage fighter, his friend. And Priest said Riddle will fall when the Judgment Day rises. This is all right. Well,
let me just say this about Priest. He's one of the most improved wrestlers on the roster, both on the mic and in the ring.
Yeah. So Sammy against Styles, bro, this is a good match, but this was 20. Bro,
I was looking at at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 20 minutes. It was way too long, dude.
Way too long. Well, late in the match, Zayn distracted the referee while Sikoa pulled Styles on the floor and gave a Uranagi slam in the apron. And that was the reason this worked is because, bro, for 19 minutes and 30 seconds, Sikoa did nothing.
Yeah, all they did was show close-ups of him.
Right. And then in the end, he just he found his spot, went and gave him the thing and shoved him in the ring real quick.
And it looked good. It was like a choke slam on the apron, which looked really good and devastating. And what I said, like I said before, I don't mind interferences if they're tied into the storyline, so I was fine with it.
Right. And this one worked because it was done. It didn't bury the ref. It's done very quickly and sneaky and just
very well done.
So then the Judgment Day comes out after the match while Styles is still down, and Balor had a mic and said he felt things would have been different had Styles accepted their support. Balor entered the ring while his ally stood in the apron, and Balor told Styles that he was asking him as a friend to rise up and join the Judgment Day. Balor held up the too sweet sign, and Styles teased doing the same, but then he opted to stick his middle finger in Balor's face. The Judgment Day attacked Styles, and they wrapped a chair around his neck, but Balor teased stomping on it and said he could have ended AJ's career, but he's a friend, and that's not what friends do. So, and they left him laying here. I'll tell you what I don't know how far away they are from this, okay? But Styles joining the Judgment Day, okay? Now I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, is like, okay, now if it's Styles, Balor, Priest, Dominic, and Rhea in the corner, right? Who would I could absolutely see these guys when the Usos just all turn babyface and them facing off at the Usos. But who would be the one that you would put as the guy that's like going one-on-one with Roman, and who would you put in the tag up against the Uso brothers? If they make this a faction, put Styles in there, because I could absolutely see them doing that.
I don't know, maybe AJ.
Yeah, like maybe AJ against Roman, and you got Balor and Priest against the Uso, bro. And you could do some good, that's how you do factions. You build them up, and then you have them fight each other and do TV off it. So, I missed. This was not on Hulu. Backstage, Candice LeRae greeted Bianca and Asuka and Alexa Bliss, and said she hopes Belair shuts up Bayley at Extreme Rules. Then Dakota Kai comes in with their suit. Then the heels come with their suitcases, and Bayley said compliments were just jealousy in disguise. LeRae said bullies were just cowards and cowards. They actually use that word, cowards. Bayley said something about LeRae needed to wait until next week to face Dakota Kai. So whatever.
I didn't see this, and I'm glad I didn't.
So then we go Riddle versus Damian Priest, another 19-minute match.
Too long.
I'm wondering if they're doing this because
they've been doing it since Hunter took over. Long matches.
No.
Yeah.
The past 3 weeks since football started, they've actually added these matches used to be like 13
minutes. They made
them
longer, yeah.
Made them longer, So I'm just wondering if that's I don't know.
Like I say, bro, and this is just my philosophy. Save that for pay-per-views.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what I did like about this match. Right. Finally, there was a clean finish. Okay, yeah. I was like, what? And what a miracle! And Riddle needed a clean finish. He's done a lot of jobs.
Yeah. So afterwards, the Judgment Day attack Riddle. Then Edge comes out. Clears the ring, gets the mic. You've tried to finish me over and over again, Edge said, but I always come back. Even if it takes me 9 years, I come back, and I got to come back in Edmonton, in my country. You see, I don't quit. So Finn, I'm going to challenge you in Extreme Rules for the first time ever. Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match. He got a good pop here, by the way. So
he got a great pop. The place just absolutely exploded when he came out, and they all sold very well for him.
Yeah, this was and the show was all right.
Good way to end it.
Yeah, show's okay.
Not a good way to start it.
But what they are doing is they're giving all these long matches, but they're building them up enough to where they mean something. So they're not like
there's just too long matches in one show for me.